play Philosophia Floating Worlds solo against one or multiple AI players. You can even add AI players into games with multiple human beings. The AI players in Philosophia Floating World are known as the Unmei.
Setup. Follow the normal setup instructions with the following additions and exceptions. Number 1. During setup, choose a character for yourself and one for each Unmei player. Unmei players do not need their character's starting deck. Number 2. Choose your player board and another for the Unmei player. Use the A sides of the character card and player board for each Unmei player. However, you may use side A or B for your own card and board. Number 3. Take 2 random location tokens and place them face down, one on top of the other, onto the secret location area on each of the Unmei player boards. Do not look at these. Number 4. Take the Unmei dice and place them near the Unmei player boards. And lastly, number 5. Take the Unmei location cards and remove the following if you are playing with 3 players or less. This includes the Unmei players: Hakodate, Asama, Nagoya, Takamatsu, Oki, Matsue, and Aso.
The victory condition for the Unmei players are identical to those for human players, with one notable exception. Unlike human players, Unmei players can gain multiple Bushido and Chie Ganbaru tokens. They still, however, only need to get 4 Ganbaru tokens, or any 2 Ganbaru tokens, in addition to discovering one of their opponent's secret locations, to get a victory condition.
During the collect phase, before you collect your items, you must collect items for the Unmei players. To do this, roll the Unmei collect die 3 times for each Unmei player. Give the Unmei player the acquired items. These icons explain what each die roll will give the Unmei player. If you roll this icon, give the Unmei player 1 coin. If you roll this icon, give the Unmei player 1 builder token. And this icon means you give the Unmei player 1 time token. Note, Unmei players can only ever have a maximum of 4 builders and 12 coins in their possession, so ignore any die roll that would give them more than this.
During the action phase, before you complete your own actions, you must perform the actions for the Unmei players. Roll the Unmei action die 3 times and perform the actions that appear on the die as they appear. If the Unmei player currently has more than 4 time tokens, re-roll the Unmei action die and perform actions for each additional time token they possess. Discard these additional time tokens after each roll. Note, for both the collect and action phases, if playing with more than one Unmei player, perform these instructions for each in order of where they are on the influence track, with the player highest on the track going first.
Study. Take the available wisdom card and give it to the Unmei player. If the Unmei player gains all 4 different types of wisdom card, then discard these cards and give the Unmei player a Chie Ganbaru token. The Unmei player can have unlimited wisdom cards in their hand. In the unusual situation where the wisdom deck runs out and one needs to be taken, shuffle the wisdom cards of all Unmei players with more than 4 wisdom cards, and randomly take 1 from each of them to replenish the wisdom deck. Note, unlike human players, there is no limit to the number of Chie Ganbaru tokens the Unmei player can gain. If you run out of the tokens, do use a suitable alternative.
If you roll the shop icon, then buy the cheapest available weapon that the Unmei player does not already possess. If there are none available, then the Unmei player will pay a time token to replenish the cards. If they do not have a time token, or if the Unmei player cannot afford an item, then ignore this action.
If you roll the Fight Monster action, remove the top monster card from the deck and see if the Unmei player has the required items to kill it. If so, the Unmei player gets the Bushido Ganbaru token as normal. They do not need to be in the Fight Monster location to perform this action. Note, Unmei players have different victory conditions than human players, and they can receive multiple Bushido Ganbaru tokens. And if you run out of these, use a suitable alternative.
If you roll the build icon, then, if the Unmei player has the required items to build a pagoda, then the Unmei player builds the pagoda in the normal way. If they do not, or if they've already built their pagoda, then check to see if they have the required items to build a shrine. If they do, build a shrine in the normal way. If they do not have the required items, or if they are building a shrine and they're in a location where one already exists, ignore this action. If they have already built their pagoda and all their shrines, ignore this action.
If you roll a search action, draw the top location card from the unmade deck. Move the unmade character into that location. If another player is already in that location, then the normal movement rules are applied. The unmade character will always initiate an influence contest to move into the new location if there is a player in that location who does not wish to move. Regardless of whether the unmade character moves into that location or not, the location listed on the unmade card is the one that is searched. If your secret location is found, put that location token face up on the designated area of the main board. Then put a padlock token onto their player board. If your decoy location is found, place that location token face up on the designated location on the main board and remove the corresponding unmade location card from the deck. Note, the unmade player may search locations even during festivals. Additionally, if playing with multiple players, unmade players cannot discover each other's secret locations.
Influence contests. You may challenge the unmade player in their movement, study, and shop actions. They may also challenge you. This is done using the following rules. For a movement contest, it is always assumed that the unmade player will initiate a contest to move into the location drawn from the unmade location deck, and that they will choose in their own interest if they win the contest. They will also always challenge to remain in their current location should you try to move into it. Adjust the positions of the Canon tokens on the influence track accordingly. Remember, unmade players move if they roll the search icon on the action die.
Study contest. You may challenge an unmade player to take the available wisdom card. You must have a study action available this round to do so. If challenged, it is always assumed that the unmade player will try to take the first available wisdom card and will choose themselves if they win the contest. Adjust the Canon tokens' positions on the influence track accordingly.
For a shop contest, you may challenge an unmade player to take an available item card. You must have a shop action available this round to do this. If challenged, it is always assumed that the unmade player will try to take the cheapest weapon item card, unless they already own an identical one. And they will always choose themselves if they win the contest. Adjust the positions of the Canon tokens on the influence track accordingly.
Changes to human players in solo mode. Your play will be the same as in the multiplayer game, with the following exceptions. During the draw phase, take 6 cards from the top of your own draw deck as normal. Look at them, then discard the one that has the highest price in the top right-hand corner. If there is a tie for the highest, or no cards have a cost, then you choose which to discard. After doing this, shuffle the remaining cards and deal them into 2 piles as usual. One pile of 3 cards and the other of 2. These are your choices for this round. Note, these changes only occur when playing solo and do not apply if just adding an unmade player into a multiplayer game. In this case, just play as normal when passing cards to other players, ignoring the unmade player.
During the action phase, if you wish to make a move action into a location containing an unmade player, assume that the unmade player will challenge this. Adjust the positions of the Canon tokens on the influence track accordingly. When you're performing the flip location token action, you must locate the corresponding card from the unmade deck for the location that you just revealed. Discard this card from the game. You also cannot perform search actions until you have flipped all the face-down location tokens that were left to the side of the board during setup.
When performing a search action, the biggest change here is that you cannot perform a search action until you have flipped all of the face-down location tokens that were left to the side of the board during setup. After this, when you perform a search action in any location, remove the top location token from the unmade player board and put it onto your own player board, which will block one of your player board action spaces. Next, take the corresponding card from the unmade deck and discard it. If this is the second time you are performing a search action, then instead, place the location token onto the corresponding space on the main board. Then, take a padlock token and place it onto your player board, which will block one of your player board actions. you have discovered the unmade player's secret location. If playing against multiple unmade players, you only need to perform the search action twice on any one unmade player.
To adjust the difficulty level of the unmade player, all you need to do is simply add in or take away an extra roll of the dice each round. Simple as that.